Hello and welcome to the Totally Schway podcast. My name is Mary.
And I'm Luke.
And this is a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell I want it to be about, including sometimes Eric Roberts.
Like one time we spoke about Eric Roberts and getting his knees broken in The Dark Knight. And then you made a joke that we're turning it into an Eric Roberts podcast, and that hasn't happened.
Well, there's still time. So, Luke, how are you today?
Generally, I'm okay. I think we should let the listeners know that we had a minor technical problem with this podcast in that the audio was partially corrupted. So we're re-recording the introduction, and I'm not happy about it. But other than that, things are generally good.
Okay, so let's get on with it. Do you have any news for us today?
Yes, I do. So this is kind of annoying because this news broke like a few hours after we recorded our last podcast and it was too late for us to put it in. Mm-hmm. But basically, Todd McFarlane is expanding his DC Animated Universe action figure lines to include figures from the new Batman adventures. So the first wave includes Batman, Batgirl, Two-Face, and Killer Croc with Baby Doll. Each figure comes with a little mini print depicting a scene from one of their episodes. Oh. There's no release date for them yet, but given that they were announced just before Christmas, I have to imagine they'll be coming out fairly soon. I saw that the figures that were announced about a week before this have got a tentative release date of like the middle of January, so they'll probably be with us soon. Literally, Mary, they will be with us soon because I will order them as soon as the pre-orders open.
Don't I know it?
Yeah.
The mini print, is it like a 4x2 or? I'm
not entirely certain. It has to fit inside the action figure box, so it's going to be very small. But yeah, that's a nice little extra. They're not like the Batman the animated series figures with the Build-A-Figure line. Mm-hmm. So they might even be a little bit cheaper than those ones, potentially.
It doesn't really matter. I think McFarlane Toys, it does a pretty good job anyway. And the price point that they have, I think, is pretty fair, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is pretty fair.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it difficult is when they're Target exclusives, because we don't have Target in the UK, so I have to track them down through other means.
If Target would like to come to the UK, I'm American. Mm-hmm. I will vote yes.
Okay, so I have one more piece of news relating to action figures.
Okay.
So a couple of months back, you might remember around San Diego Comic-Con time, I talked about all these different action figures that had been announced. One of the companies with the BTAS line is Mezco. They have confirmed that their figures are coming out now in August of 2024 and are available to pre-order on their website. They have...
That's this year.
Yeah. It is 2024, I keep forgetting. The figures in the first wave will include Batman, Robin, Catwoman, and the Joker, as well as a Batmobile. The most amazing thing about them, though, particularly for people of a certain vintage like myself, is that the packaging for the figures is like directly inspired by the packaging from the original 90s figures by Kenner, with the black boxes with the red logo and stuff like that. It looks absolutely amazing. I'm enamored with them and I've already pre-ordered them.
Nice.
I just need to find more space. Basically, I need to buy another home just to keep all my Batman crap in.
Yes. All right, so is that all the news you have for today?
That is.
Okay.
I suppose just one little thing I can say to introduce our topic. So this episode is a very special episode we've put together to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond first aired on the 10th of January in 1999. And it was a really good cartoon, if you didn't know that already. To celebrate this, I'm doing a whole month's worth of Batman Beyond content. Should I spoil what I'm doing? I'll tell you what I've done so far. I've done a video essay on Terry McGinnis to kick things off. And that'll probably be live by the time this podcast comes out. Yes, it will be. The next video I'm doing for it will be about how Batman Beyond was intended to be a children's cartoon. By the Warner Brothers executives. They said it needs to be more kid-friendly, and that just completely backfired, and it was just like one of the most mature and horrific shows in the entire DC animated universe. And basically, I'm doing a little video to celebrate that.
So we'll jump into today's episode, which is... I'm actually really excited about this. Well, I'm excited about most of the podcasts. Today we're doing a Batman Beyond Top 10 episode thing.
So the way this is going to work is that I've picked 5 episodes, Mary's picked 5 episodes. We compared notes to make sure we weren't picking the same ones.
I was going to say something about that.
Yeah, and if we did pick the same ones, then one of us would choose another one.
Yeah.
And we've put together our top 10 between us.
Yeah, we will tell you if we have picked the same ones. I think there's 3. Was there 2 or 3?
Yeah, there are 3.
Yeah. So, do you want to start with yours?
Okay, so these will be in no particular order.
Yeah. I will say what the best episode is when I come to it.
In your opinion, what the best episode is?
It is the best episode.
Okay. All right, so first on my list, coming as no surprise to anybody, is Meltdown. So this was, I think, the 5th episode in the first season. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at you, Michael Parlon. This episode is really special to me because it is one of the few episodes that dealt with a character from Batman the Animated Series, and that's Mr. Freeze. And it dealt with his rehabilitation and how it started out so wonderfully. And when things started to go wrong, they spiraled out of control. And it just... It escalates rapidly to Mr. Freeze re-emerging, murdering people, and then killing himself. Immediately, this does not sound like a kid's show, does it? Yeah. But I love it. There's the moment towards the end of the episode after Mr. Freeze has enacted his revenge on Derek Powers and Dr. Lake, and he's had a fight with Blight and knocked Blight out of the building. And he kind of just drops to his knees. His suit seems to be malfunctioning in some way. The whole facility's blowing up around him. And Batman's like, hey, come on, Freeze, get up. Come with me. We'll get out of here. It's all right. I'll save you. It's no problem. We can keep going. Plenty of time. Come on. Just get up, Freeze.
Yeah.
And Freeze looks at him, goes, believe me, you're the only one who cares. And then puts up a wall of ice, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And then goes, and gets blown up.
Yeah.
Oh, it tugs at my heartstrings every time I watch it. I always go on about it anytime I get the opportunity to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it a lot this month in Batman Beyond month. So, thoughts on Meltdown, Mary?
I think it is just a continuation of showing how, personable Mr. Freeze is, and how, I think he wasn't like your everyday villain. Obviously because of Nora and everything. And I think for this particular universe, the ending of Mr. Freeze in that way was poetic. Because with that, it might seem like just an everyday sound, but that was like his, like kind of his last words, if you will, where he was just like, it's a relief in a way.
Yeah, because I think there is an element that he had been a head in a jar for 50 years, and he had been given this opportunity with a new body to start over, and he was genuinely remorseful and overjoyed at the prospect, and he had dedicated himself, or he had committed himself, I should say, to benefiting the benefit of everybody else by setting up a trust fund and a charitable organisation in the name of his late wife Nora. And then just to have Dr. Lake, his love interest, try to murder him because Derek Powers wants his organs to be examined. And just there's a look on his face when he gets out of his cage. He just looks at her with such hatred and such anger, and then he runs off into the snow in his underwear as well, which I was going to say that must be difficult to get around, but actually no, he likes the cold, so it'd be easy. It just, it speaks to me, and I love it.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Mr. Freeze at all, it should speak to you, because it's just a continuation of all of his, I hate to put it this way, but the crappy circumstances he's been put in throughout his entire life, it just continues until the very end. and it sucks. Not this the episode. The episode is beautiful, but it just sucks because somehow, some way, those writers they have a little bit of that in their life. So,
I mean, the writer of that episode, Hilary Bader, she's no longer with us. But Alan Burnett co-wrote it, and Alan Burnett didn't often write episodes. He would often provide like story notes and outlines, but because it was Mr. Freeze who was so important to the success of Batman the Animated Series, I think he got involved just to make sure that they did it justice.
Yeah.
And I read an interview with Bruce Timm where he said that he was very anxious about them including Mr. Freeze in Batman Beyond. So much so to the extent that every day he would poke his head in the office while they were writing and just say, "Hey, tell me what's going on. I will provide my notes. Make sure you do this properly."
Yeah.
But yeah, you can tell it's a wonderful episode. I love it. And there's a really nice moment at the end where throughout the whole episode, Bruce Wayne has said, don't trust Mr. Freeze. It's only a matter of time before he reverts to form. Whereas Terry's like, well, I think we should give him a chance. He needs a chance to make up for things. He could be a good person. Mm-hmm. And at the end, Terry turns to Bruce and says, well, I guess you were right. And Bruce looks him in the eye and says, no, we both were.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's heartfelt. But you still know that Mr. Freeze wasn't... he was a maniac.
Yes.
And he wasn't good. But his start wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Other people started that, and then he gave into it.
He could have gone to the police and said, "Oh, they're trying to murder me."
Yeah.
But instead he decided, right, I'm not going to live like this, and I'm going to make sure they don't live either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, very bad. On that note, let's move on to your episode, Mary, your first pick.
Okay, so my first pick is Speak No Evil. The reason why, or do you want to give a synopsis for this episode?
Yeah, I suppose so. So Speak No Evil is an episode about a gorilla being spliced with human DNA, and it gains the ability to speak, and it implicates a famous animal conservationist as a poacher, and it wants to find its mother and goes on a rampage through Gotham. Yeah.
So I love this episode because it's one of those episodes that I think gets lost, and I love it because I am an animal lover, as Luke knows. If there's something that I want people to know about me, is the fact that I care about animals. I will not kill a spider if it's in my home. I will make Luke get a piece of paper and a glass and take it outside and let it live its merry life. I also do not buy products that are animal tested on animals, because I feel that in this day and age, there are ways that you can do that without hurting animals. It is 2024, and we need to be nice to all of the critters, because we don't want them going extinct. And this episode spoke to me in the way of, they're doing these experiments on different animals and stuff, and then with the gorillas, this person just decided, hey, I'm just gonna take one of these gorillas or a few of these gorillas because I can. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it reminds me of how they do animal testing in the real world. They just take these animals, and every time I watch it, I'm reminded of how evil we can be as humans to animals. Mm-hmm. That's a long, some people might think I'm silly or stupid for that, but whoever wrote this episode must love animals.
I think it was Stan Berkowitz. I'm going to look that up.
Because you don't see the gorilla as a gorilla. You see this gorilla as a son that's lost their mother. Mm-hmm. And the writing is amazing. And I do believe, again, I'll say this again, I do believe that it gets lost in all of the episodes. But yeah, I am such a sucker for a good story about animals, as you'll probably take from my list. But yeah, that's why I love Speak No Evil.
Just confirming it was written by Stan Berkowitz. So,
Yeah.
Stan, if you're listening, Mary loved it. I mean, I think it's a good episode as well. It's not one of my favourites. But one of the things I do like about it is it's quite a heavy episode, yes.
Yeah.
But there are moments of humour.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when the gorilla summons a taxi and he gets in the back and the taxi driver's like, wow, that's a great costume. And
Yeah.
he goes, yes, it gets very hot.
Yeah. That's one thing that not just one thing. I love the DCAU because you have moments like that in most of the episodes. Obviously not exactly like that, but it's like in real life. Humor gets us really far.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the darkest of moments and the darkest of days, we need a gorilla suit joke.
Yes.
Do you want me to do my second one? And then you could do your second one.
If you want to, if you're on a roll.
Yeah, so, because I know you're going to talk about this one more than me. Earth Mover.
Yeah, so this is one I had picked as well, but
Yeah.
Mary picked it first, so I had to pick something else. But
So I like this, and I explained it to Luke, so I'll explain it to you guys how I explained it to him. So it's not necessarily a favorite because of the storyline. The storyline is great, but it reminds me of a classic movie. It's this storyline, you could have made it into a classic movie. Like, it could have been a movie in the olden days.
Yeah.
And it would have been great. And you would have had someone like Montgomery Cliff, playing Earth Mover.
oh,
and,
can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no!
But the thing is, that would be perfect for him because it's, this heartbroken character. And yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, Earth Mover is, I would describe it as the most horrific episode in Batman Beyond, and probably in anything actually, any DCAU show. There's no humor in this one at all, as far as I can remember.
I can't remember it either.
Yeah, and it's a story about one of Terry's schoolmates, a girl called Jackie, who's being stalked by this weird shadow man in the distance. And Terry decides to investigate and discovers that it's made of mud, and when he attacks it, it just breaks apart and disappears. It turns out that the mudmen are extensions of her thought to be deceased father, who had been caught in an accident when she was a child, buried underground and bathed in toxic chemicals, and he's basically fused into the soil, and he can now construct things to interact with the world above. And he spent 10 years underground, at least 10 years underground, going slowly insane, and he has now convinced himself that his business partner intentionally did this to him to take him away from the company, to steal his money essentially, and to steal his daughter to raise as his own. Now the business partner, Bill, he is absolutely wrecked with guilt because he arranged for these chemicals to be buried underground because they couldn't afford to dispose of them safely, and with the money they were saving, he was going to give it to his partner Tony. But obviously he thought Tony had been killed in this accident, and he adopted Jackie and raised her as his own in penance. Now Bill is kind of the bad guy here. He did something wrong, and he never owned up to what he did and the impact it had on Tony. Tony is the victim, but he is also the bad guy in that he's got this absolutely deranged plan that he's going to take Jackie and make her live underground with him. This just corpse that's fused into the soil, speaking through gritted teeth the whole time. It's just, it's awful, absolutely awful, and I love it. It's amazing. And I talk about this in one of my upcoming videos, so this is a little spoiler, but most people don't listen to the podcast, do they? One of the things I love about Earthmover is that he is always painted into the background. He's not like a character that's painted on an animation cell that then moves. The only part of him that's animated is his eyes, these glowing green eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, because he's painted into the background, he's got a completely different texture to everyone else. Humans in the animation look like smooth, almost doll-like in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas he's got this rough, coarse texture. You can see every single stroke of the brush in the paint, at least in the HD version. And I think it's just wonderful. And I've been speaking for ages, Mary, so I don't know if you've got anything you want to add.
No. I knew that you would end up saying that you're a bit better with the spoken word
Yeah.
than I am. Yeah, I take it back. I don't want Montgomery Clift to play them. I want Christopher Lee.
Ooh, do you know what? I was thinking Vincent Price.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
his voice reminds me of Dr. Five.
Yeah.
Like there's a filter on it that's got this. I'm shaking my hand up and down as if that's like an indication of what I mean. But
oh yeah, Vincent Price, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Can you just imagine him going, Jackie?
Jacker. I can't do Vincent Price. All right. So what's your second one?
Either. Okay, on to my second one. Fine. So this one probably won't be too surprising either, but it's Out of the Past. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the one in which it's Bruce Wayne's birthday. He's taken to see Batman the Musical, and he hates it. Hates it. With the Superstitious Cowardly Lot song that Paul Dini wrote. And Talia al Ghul comes to visit him and offers to let him take a couple of dips in the Lazarus pit and regain his youth because she thinks he's too wonderful to die of old age. He eventually accepts, and it turns out that actually it's not Talia. I mean, it is Talia's body, but her mind was taken over by her father, Ra's al Ghul. And Talia died years ago, and Ra's has taken over her body. And he now wants to take over Batman's body. So there's kind of like gender-bending, body-swapping, science fiction stuff. And I think it's a great episode.
Yeah.
I've noticed from my first two picks here that I've gone with episodes that bring back classic characters. And I just want to clarify that I think one of the best things about Batman Beyond is they didn't overdo it. They brought back Mr. Freeze. You got a very brief glimpse of Bane, Talia and Ra's al Ghul, and the Joker, and that's pretty much it. Okay, Harley Quinn, brief glimpse of her as well.
Yeah. Out of the Past is the perfect balance of creepy, but you kind of just... And then you have that other part of the balance where... keep going. Do you know what I mean? Like it's creepy, but the balance, your mind is balancing it out, and you're just like, just keep going.
You want me to go on to my third one? Are we done talking about Out of the Past?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, my third one.
You're going to be talking about some of these episodes in more depth this month, so yeah.
Okay, well, my third one is Sneak Peek. Sneak Peek is another one that's actually kind of horrific. It's a journalist who has stolen a belt that makes him intangible so he can spy on people.
Yeah.
He has a news show where he talks about celebrity gossip. Like there's a singer that's been that's had herself spliced so that she's got a snake's tongue. And splicing is illegal at that point. But anyway, he puts a camera on the Batmobile and records footage of Terry and Bruce Wayne.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
This is one I am going to talk about as well in my videos. So I won't go into it too much, but the thing I really love about this is at the end of the episode,
I knew this
near
was
the end of
coming.
the episode, Bruce Wayne goes to his goes to see this journalist and he says to him, "Look, I don't care if you reveal my secret, but leave Terry out of this." And the journalist is like, "Wow, that was really heartfelt. You really got to me, Mr. Wayne. Do you mind doing it again on camera?"
Oh, I didn't know that was the part. I thought you were going to talk about the the end.
Yeah, I'm
of,
talking about
of
what
him.
comes next. Yeah. And just at that moment, he becomes overwhelmed by the energy of the belt, and he just can't control it anymore, and he just starts falling through the floor. And he's like begging Bruce Wayne to help him. He goes, "I'll give you the recording, just help me." And Bruce just looks at him and goes, "No."
Yeah.
And watches him fall through the floor. Terry, meanwhile, is like doing everything he can to grab a hold of him. He's pleading with him, saying, please pull yourself together and I'll help you. Just bring yourself together and I'll be able to pull you up. And as the guy is just slowly falling through the ground, it dawns on him what's happening, and he's basically going to fall to the center of the earth, and he starts cackling madly. He's gone completely insane and he is going to die. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. And I love moments like that, if that wasn't clear enough already.
Yeah. I find, recently you've heard on my TikToks, like on my TikTok feed, occasionally you'll hear like this lady that does blind items.
Oh, right.
That's as far as I'll go into celebrity gossip nowadays. I'm not going to say his name because I don't think the name should be justified. There was a big, in the mid 2000s to the early 2010s, there's this really well-known celebrity blogger. And I find people like that disgusting because I have read the stories from some of these people that he had outed, and this episode made me think of that person. And I don't read the news very much, I have to be honest about that, but I certainly don't want to read about who's gay or who's not gay unless they want me to know. And this guy would have been the person I'm talking about, and he would have ruined so many lives.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So many lives.
And there's an implication as well that this journalist had murdered the scientist responsible for the belt, because it was being developed by Wayne Powers, and his lab had mysteriously burnt down, and Bruce had thought the technology had been destroyed, but he had taken it. Yeah. And I think that's why Bruce wouldn't help him. Yeah,
that's what I had always thought. The reason why Bruce didn't, try to save him was because, like, dude, you've done me dirty by hurting one of the people that worked for me. Why should I help you when you've hurt someone so bad that they're not going to come back?
Yeah, and I think that's a difference between the Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne and the BTAS Bruce Wayne, because he helped everyone in Batman the Animated Series. Regardless of what they did, he would always offer to help them. Whereas by this point in his life, he's completely jaded, and he's just like, go to hell. Literally.
Yeah.
So how about your pick, Mary? Your third pick.
So this one is the best episode of all time.
It certainly tugs on my heartstrings as well.
Ace in the Hole.
Yeah.
That it's honestly, it just, I don't know. Oh, I keep saying that. I don't know if you know this, but Luke and I have the cats that we have adopted have all been rescues, except for Gilgamesh. We did get Gilgamesh from somebody that was just giving him away, so he wasn't really a rescue.
Well, he would have been a rescue because he would have gone to a shelter.
But we adopt, we don't shop, and there are reasons for that. And every time I watch this episode, I tear up a little bit. Because in this episode, you get Ace's origin story, and it's not a happy one.
Yeah, so it shows in the present day, Ace gets stolen, basically. Goes missing and then ends up getting stolen. And then winds up in the hands of a guy running a legal dogfighting league. And it turns out he had raised Ace from a pup to be a fighting dog. And we see Ace's backstory of, being a cute little puppy, getting beaten with a newspaper and electrocuted, and being forced to fight other animals. And when the police raided one of the fights, Ace ran away and came across Bruce Wayne, who was trying to grieve his parents in Crime Alley, but a Joker was giving him some grief. And so Ace bit the Joker and got hurt, and I think Bruce took that as a sign to take the dog in.
Give me that baby.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I can't think of a better episode, because it shows that even though Bruce at this point is now jaded, and he sees that not everybody deserves, that third, fourth, fifth chance. You can still see that this innocent creature needs his help, and he needs Ace's help too.
Yes, that's right. Well, Ace was
The
his
companionship.
only. Yeah, Ace was his only companion for years. And I just want to say something that there's a slight irony in Ace being such a beloved character in Batman Beyond. When Batman the Animated Series was first being planned, one of the producers, Sean Catherine Derrick, I should say, just to make clear that Sean Derrick is a lady, she pushed for Ace the Bat Hound to be included. She wanted Batman to have a pet dog in the Batcave, and Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski scoffed at it, like, no way, we're never doing that. And then they went ahead and Bruce and Alan Burnett and Paul Dini did it in Batman Beyond, and they really nailed it. Ace was not just a lovable comedy relief, sidekick dog. Ace was a fierce, well-trained companion, yeah. And showed a lot of character. You think about episodes like one you're going to talk about later, where Ace rescues Terry when he's getting attacked and gets hurt in the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ace is one of my favorite characters in Batman Beyond.
Yeah. I mean, it's my third favorite character, duh. No, I would never be able to not have this in a top list. I think it's out of all of the shows in DCAU, I think Ace in the Hole is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Mainly because I freaking love animals, and it shows that, how you raise your critters is how they're going to treat other people.
Yeah, and that's a little personal segue here. When we adopted our cat Isis, named after Catwoman's cat, she was nearly feral when we first got her. I've got scars on my legs from where she scratched me out of anger. And actually, I thought it was out of anger because I wasn't feeding her quick enough.
Yeah.
But I actually, over time, I came to understand that it was more out of fear. Her response to fear was to become aggressive and attack. And I remember one time she bit one of my nieces, and I picked her up and scolded her, and immediately she just melted and went like
the thing is, Luke we never hit or anything like that. He literally just was like, Isis, no, and she was like
yeah, but we treated her very well. She couldn't she could get away with anything. She did get away with everything.
She did.
And as such, over time, her behaviour completely changed. She became a very affectionate and loving cat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another reason why, the Ace episode speaks to us.
Yeah, because it's something that people... I grew up with like pit bulls and, really aggressive dogs, or what people think are aggressive dogs, but they weren't aggressive to me. So there's a reason for that. And it's because they were treated well, and they were treated with kindness, and they took it, they received it, and they gave it back because they knew that no matter what, you were always gonna be there for them. And this episode always reminds me of that.
Okay, so I think that's time for me to do my next pick. So my next pick is actually a two-parter, but we're going to count it as one, because I don't think you can consider the whole story without looking at both parts. And I know sometimes one part is better than the other. But my pick is Rebirth, Part 1 and 2. The first story of Batman Beyond. I think it would have been very easy for the writers on this show to make Terry McGinnis either a carbon copy of Batman or go completely the opposite direction and make him just like completely different in order to make him more appealing to, you know, their youth market. But I think they did a really good job of establishing him as kind of a little rough around the edges, but generally likable and honourable. He might overreact to things. He's a bit overly emotional. But you could see where he was coming from. So, for instance, the first time we see him, he's defending a woman on public transport after a joker tries to harass her for money. And he's not doing it so that everyone go, wow, what a great guy. Ooh, look at that big tough guy. He's doing it because he doesn't like bullies. Then later on, you see he gets into an encounter with Nelson Nash, who is the school bully. And he beats him up. And the teacher suspends him, even though Nelson was the instigator. And, you know, life sometimes works out that way. They're always like the golden ones who can get away with more than others.
Oh, don't I know that situation quite well?
Well, sometimes that was me. But the thing that I love the most is the first 2 minutes where they show us why Batman stopped being Batman. I just think it's so absolutely perfect. And I talk about this at length in one of my video essays. I've recorded like 3 of them in a row, and they're all blurring together. So apologies if all of this sounds new to anyone listening. But essentially, he's too old. He has a heart attack. A light heart attack, but he can't defend himself from a fairly rudimentary hostage situation, and he ends up having to pull a gun on someone. And you can see from his body language, even though that new costume completely covers up his face, you can see from his body language and his expression that he would not have hesitated to shoot that guy if he continued. And when he realises that about himself, he's disgusted. He pulls off his Batman mask, even though he's still out in public. He just pulls it off, and he's like, ugh, get off, I don't deserve this anymore.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and he locks that door of the Batcave, he turns the lights out, doesn't go back down there for, 20, 30 years, something like that, 20 years. And I like the fact that one of the things I've identified is one of the best things about B-Test Batman is that he doesn't know who killed his parents, so he's kind of got this just general desire to help people out in hopes that he can make amends for not being able to avenge his parents. Terry knows who killed his father.
Yeah.
Initially, he thinks that it was as a result of something he did, so he blames himself. So he's kind of got like this Spider-Man self-loathing, self-blaming, but he quickly learns that actually no, that's not the case. It was unrelated. And he gets the chance to deal with the people responsible. And he gets a certain amount of closure in that first episode. So he's not this dark, brooding Batman. He's actually kind of quite funny, quite likable at times.
Yeah.
He's more human. He's more relatable. And I just really like that about that first episode. They really establish him well.
I don't really have anything else to add because I just, ditto.
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 All right, Mary, what's your next one?
Okay, so I also have a 2-parter.
Shock and horror.
I know. Just wait, we'll be doing a top 10 of Justice League. It's going to be everything. It's going to be 2 3-parters. The Call, Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, so this one's cool because it reintroduces Superman, and I think it's the first time the Justice League is shown in the
I think
DCAU.
so, yeah.
Yeah, because Justice League didn't air until after this.
Yeah.
I often forget that. But Superman comes to elderly Bruce Wayne and says, hey, I want the kid to come and join the Justice League briefly because someone's been taking out members of the Justice League and I think there's a traitor in our midst. There is. Turns out the traitor is actually Superman himself. And there's that at the end of the first part where Batman's like, well, I was afraid this was going to happen, and then presses a button and suddenly the costume display cabinet moves out of the way. There's a secret cabinet there with a like a steel or lead lined container comes out of the floor. Bruce Wayne has to have his eyes scanned and his fingerprints read. Has to put in his mother's maiden name and his grandfather's date of birth. And then the cabinet opens and it's kryptonite. And he hands it to Terry and he says, you do what you need to do. So effectively he's saying, if you've got to, kill him.
I find it funny that he goes through all of that mess to get to the kryptonite, when in Justice League it's only in the belt. It's only in the belt.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Well, perhaps he's learned by that point. Yeah. Maybe he's keeping it secret from Superman as well.
Yeah. Maybe in this time they found that kryptonite was actually like cancerous or something.
Well, yes, in the comics, Lex Luthor used to wear a kryptonite ring, and it ended up giving him cancer and killing him.
Oh.
And he had to have his hand amputated, and he had like a metal hand for a while, but he still died.
I see. That took the humor right out of it.
Yeah, well, you know what it is.
Yeah.
But the whole reason Superman's betraying everyone is because he's been possessed by Starro.
Oh, yes.
And that was the thing when we were talking about it. I mean, you can talk about this now, Mary. Sorry, I've said too much.
You continue. You were doing a really good job.
Well, Starro was... this is a deep cut callback to an early episode of Superman with... the Preserver, that was his name, wasn't it? The floaty guy that hired Lobo to kidnap Superman.
Yeah.
He had a spaceship full of like the last of their kind creatures, and one of them was Starro. And after Superman defeated the Preserver, he took all of those creatures to his Fortress of Solitude, and he basically maintained a zoo for them. And one day when feeding Starro decided, you know what, I've had enough of this, and jumps on Superman and takes control of him.
Yeah.
And had been controlling him for years. And the Starro asexually reproduces thousands of times. There's like a whole deep pool of water in the Arctic that's just full of the Starros, and takes control of the Justice League, and they try to take control of Batman, but he's able to fight them off.
I don't ever want to be possessed by anything, but if it were to ever happen to me, I would feel very, very sorry for them. The things that if they could like read my mind, they would stop. Like Starro would be like, I'm just gonna, not today, Satan, not today. Yeah, like
That Dr. Zoidberg.
No, I don't like the idea of body possession or people being able to read my mind or anything, and being able to read like someone like Batman's or Superman's mind. Oh, the things that they have seen. And sometimes it's best left alone. And no, I loved this episode, and yeah, Luke's doing a lot of the talking today because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but he's saying exactly what I would say, but better.
The sad thing about Starro is all Starro wanted was to go home.
Yeah.
Starro was very bitter and angry about being kept in captivity, which is probably another reason why this appeals to you.
Yeah. You understand why they do it, and you feel sorry for them because there's nothing for them to go home to.
So my final pick, in a complete left field move here, I'm going with one of the funnier episodes in Batman Beyond, and that's Terry's friend dates a robot. That's a good episode. It is a very good episode. So Terry's friend Howie, who incidentally is modelled on Paul Dini.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, he's actually quite likable, but he's such a dork.
Yeah,
he's like the least cool person, but he's desperately trying to fit in with everyone. And when people are mean to him, he just brushes off. He's like, okay, cool. You don't like me? That's fine. You don't have to like me. It's cool. You can still come to my party though. Hey.
Yeah, I wish I was like that.
Yeah, but he's desperate to get a cool girlfriend, and no one's interested in him. So he thinks, I know, I will buy one. So he basically buys a black market synthoid that is programmed to be like completely devoted to him, and he calls her Cynthia. Cynthia,
that's a good name,
the synthoid.
Though. Yeah.
And by having this cool, beautiful woman around with him, suddenly he seems more appealing to other women. And when other women show interest in him, Cynthia becomes murderously jealous. And there's a beautiful, beautiful moment at his party when Cynthia is being jealous. He takes her upstairs to break it off with her, and he says, listen, you need to cool down, you need to chill out, I think we should
Chillax.
stop seeing each other, but we can still be friends.
Oh
And-
no, that's the worst thing ever.
And you see Cynthia have a complete like meltdown.
Oh my goodness.
It's hilarious. And and he said, Huey then, Howie's having a party at his house while his parents are out of town, and Cynthia ends up trashing the place. And his parents come home at the end of it, and they're like, oh my God, what have you done? Why is my credit card maxed out?
Oh my lord.
I love it. It's great. It's a nice palate cleanser.
Yeah. It reminds me of what is that 80s movie where they create their own girlfriend?
Weird Science.
Oh, it is Weird Science, isn't it? Yeah, it always reminds me of that. But
Yeah, there is an element of that, yeah. And Mary, what is your final pick for your top 10 episodes of Batman Beyond?
Splicers.
Splicers. Okay, so this is the one where a new fad comes into Gotham of people altering their DNA through special treatment to introduce animal attributes called splicing. There's a doctor behind it, Dr. Abel Cuvier, who's got like black eyes and fangs and claws and really pale skin. The police move to outlaw it, and in retaliation, Cuvier sends his goons to try and kill the district attorney, who is married to Commissioner Barbara Gordon, and Batman tries to stop them.
Yeah.
Why is this one of your favourites?
So there's a few reasons, but I'll go into the main one is because it reminds, obviously not the whole splicing different genes and stuff. Well, not yet anyway. It reminds me a lot of the like plastic surgery and injectable fads that we've had in the past, 30 years, where it starts off when you're in high school, because there's a very famous woman that started getting lip injections when she was 16, I think. And if you want to get lip injections, go for it. If it is exactly what is going to make you happy and make you feel more of yourself, go for it. But maybe after you're 18. That's the only problem I have, because when you start doing it, and you're a celebrity anyway, you really influence other people, other 16-year-olds or even younger, to try to find somebody that'll do it, and you get really bad results.
And I think you've touched on like one of the themes of the episode, and that's about people being unhappy with their own selves.
Yeah.
And wanting to change things. I think that's kind of the root of a lot of the splicers. The psychology of it all is that they are unhappy about something about themselves. Like one of them wants to turn himself into a bullman. He's voiced by Ice-T. Apparently he took that role because he wanted to impress his children. But then there's the guy that turns himself into a snake. And there's a leopard woman as well. Might be a cheetah, but I think it's a leopard.
Yeah.
And then there's Cuvier himself, who is obviously...
He does a bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, he panders to these people. He preys on them. He takes their money.
Yeah, it's for the wrong reasons as well. I'm saying I like this episode, and I do. It is in my top 5, but there's a reason why. It's because I think, just like I said a few moments ago, it is exactly what's been happening in the past 30 years. I can only say 30 years because, that's what I've seen. But a lot of these people that cater to a younger population, they do it underground, and they do it for the wrong reasons. They're not doing it to actually help them be who they want to be. They're doing it for the cheddar.
And one of the things I like about this episode is that it ties back to the very first episode of Batman the Animated Series with Man-Bat, because Man-Bat is the prototype splicer. And we see an example of this where Cuvier injects Batman with a formula that turns him into essentially Man-Bat. But he can't control himself. He can speak a little bit, but he's going kind of feral. He's like foaming at the mouth with massive fangs. And speaking of like body horror transformation, what happens with Cuvier is when his attempt to assassinate the DA is foiled, he injects himself with a whole bunch of formulas, and he kind of takes on this personality of Chimera. So he's kind of like almost like a hawk, snake, lion thing.
Yeah.
And he's very powerful, and he almost kills Batman. I think Ace gets involved. Tying back to your love of
I think that you're correct.
And then Terry injects him with a whole bunch of other things, and he just turns into this huge amorphous mound of flesh and veins and teeth, and it's all just horrible.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a great episode. And I want to make it very clear that was the first and I think the only time I've ever used cheddar as a word for money. But we just went grocery shopping, so I was just thinking about cheese. So, but I love plastic surgery. I've not had any myself yet, but I love the fact that when it's done right, it can change someone's entire life, because you can grow up and be born in a body that isn't yours, and then you can quote unquote fix that, and it's you can live a beautiful life, or on your way to a beautiful life after you're 18. My whole thing is, I think once you're 18, you can start, if you can vote, you can get a nose job or lip injections or what have you. But I think wait until you're 18, because then you don't have to go underground.
The other thing as well is that when you're quite young, you're still kind of growing into your body. And I know of people that they didn't really fully develop until they were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I was like fully developed at like 14, and I was like, that's it. But we're all different, and you should just be careful. That's all.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Because one of my favorite people, Cher.
Like Dolly Parton as well, don't you?
Oh my God, and Dolly Parton, my Lord and Savior Dolly Parton. And I think they would say the same thing. Just wait till you're 18 and do it in a safe way with someone, like with a surgeon that you can trust, not Chimera. But yeah, there's other reasons I like this episode, but that's, it just hits to our generation, I think. And yeah, that's really.
So those are your closing thoughts on splicers.
Yeah, Chimera is kind of a creepo. No, I'm gonna take that back. Chimera is a creepo. And Ace is still the best. Better than all the rest.
So that was it. That was our top 10 episodes. Let me just run through them quickly. So this is in no particular order. So we had Meltdown, Out of the Past, Sneak Peek, Rebirth, Terry's Friend Dates a Robot, Speak No Evil, Earth Mover, Ace in the Hole, The Call, and Splicers. Although Mary says that Ace in the Hole is the best one. So.
Obviously.
So now it's time to go over to the comments, isn't it? So comments from last episode, our Christmas special. Got a few this time.
Okay, so the first one is from Zehanot. That's better than a lot of directors of bad films these days who either claim their film was actually good and deep and accuse the audiences of being too stupid to understand it, or say that it was meant to be bad. Wait, you mean those directors are wrong about me being stupid?
So this was in relation to Joel Schumacher taking the blame for Batman and Robin, even though it's not his fault, it's the Warner Brothers executives' fault. But it's a valid point.
Yeah, but remember, it's our fault as the viewers if we don't get it. Truly. Okay, so the second one, do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. So the next comment was from David Carney. Hello, David. Can't believe some people say Batman Returns isn't a Christmas film. It's like Die Hard. It's set at Christmas, so it's a Christmas film for me. I love Christmas with the Joker. Who's better than Mark Hamill as the voice of the Joker? For me, Joel Schumacher's best films are The Lost Boys and Flatliners.
Can I make a confession here? And I might have done this already on the podcast.
Okay.
I have never seen The Lost Boys.
Oh. I haven't watched it in about 25 years. I didn't really care for it that much. I thought it was okay, but I love Falling Down. Falling Down's excellent.
I mean, I love vampires, as you know. and I don't mind Kiefer Sutherland, so I should watch it.
You should. Maybe that can be our next movie to watch. So questions for next time. Who would you cast as Batman in James Gunn's DCU? It's Jensen Ackles or Alan Ritchson. Love the podcast. Thank you, David. To be honest, I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of modern stuff anymore. Surprise, surprise, a guy that has a whole YouTube channel about 30-year-old cartoons. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm not really up to date in who would be a good Batman. Go on, Mary.
Hold on, I just had an idea. Hear me out. Jared Leto.
Oh, shut up.
No, yeah,
Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah.
You think Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah. Oh, he can't because he's already been in the DC.
Yeah, I mean, he could be in again. Jason Momoa is supposed to be Lobo.
Really?
Yeah. Allegedly. Apparently. Rumour has it. But you say Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah. Yeah. I love Joel Kinnaman. I do.
I mean, out of the two that David provided, I would say Jensen Ackles probably. Alan Ritchson is fine.
Who's... forgive me for not knowing who Jensen is.
You didn't watch The Boys, did you?
No.
I think he was in... Was it Supernatural he was in as well?
Never seen it.
Yeah, okay, you won't know.
No.
You won't know.
Let me think of someone else. No,
I think that's Joel Kinnaman's a fine example.
Yeah, I think Joel Kinnaman, he's got a range of to himself that we've not seen all of it yet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was just English coming out of my mouth. No, I really admire Joel Kinnaman because if you've ever seen the show The Killing, oh my God, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And obviously I know he's been in a DC movie before, but who cares?
He's in the Suicide Squad and Suicide
cares?
Squad. But
yeah,
he got killed off, didn't he? So
what? Spoilers. Okay, so let's go on to the third one. So this is from Belmont. Grr.
GR.
I know.
Belmont Grr.
Yeah. Do you plan to do some Batman Beyond content? I recently saw that there are comics that continue the story from where the show left off.
Never. No.
I don't think so. I think we've done enough with Batman Beyond, really, in this podcast.
Yeah.
No, Luke is doing a full month worth of Batman Beyond content, which is awesome.
Yeah. Whole month, at least, I think it's 5 essays, actually, because I'm going to do an extra one at the end, I think. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do some other less scripted videos around Batman Beyond as well. Just additional stuff, supplemental stuff that hopefully you enjoy. Regarding the comics, yes. So Batman Beyond Volume 1 was 6 issues. It was written by Hilary J. Bader, who we mentioned earlier as the writer of Meltdown. She's no longer with us. But she wrote a number of the early Batman Beyond comics, and I view them as being completely in canon because a lot of the time they do continue on from the episodes. Like we see what happened to Patrick the Rat Boy, for instance, from the episode Rats, you know, the one where he was the boy in the sewer that was obsessed over Dana. So those ones absolutely are continuity as far as I'm concerned. Darwin Cook drew the covers as well for some of the issues. I think Bruce Timm did a few of them too. So that was Volume 1 was 6 issues and Volume 2 was 24. They're all being released in March as part of a Batman Beyond compendium. So I recommend buying that. You'll be able to get it from Amazon, anywhere that sells graphic novels, really. I think it's about 750, maybe 800 pages of Batman Beyond comics. Soft cover, so it'll only be... I don't know what the price is in dollars, probably like $60, something like that. Not certain.
What are those?
But yeah, anyway, I'll have an affiliate link on Forbidden Planet for people in the UK that want to buy it. But, you know, I know most of my listeners are not in the UK, so it's kind of useless. But anyway.
Do you own those?
I own the original comics, yes. I got them back in the day.
Okay, so I don't need to go on the affiliate link to buy them.
No, you can actually read them on the DC Universe Infinite app as well. They're on the basic subscription as well, so you don't need the top the top tier to get the latest comics. All
And I'm
Batman Beyond
assuming
stuff.
you have this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to buy the compendium as well because
Yeah, obviously.
I want them to keep releasing these tie-in comics. So the next comment, okay, I'll take this one. So Michael Andre Parlon. Hello, Michael. How you doing? Welcome Christmas, guys and gals, because the world is just not merry enough for the time being. Looks at podcast number and for once 13 doesn't feel unlucky. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Mary's right. This is spoily, however old it should be.
Told you.
Will Falseface from Batman Beyond also be part of the suggested figurine collection? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Buffoon isn't a swear. Yeah, that's right. That's why I said buffoon, because I was about to swear and I corrected
I
myself.
can't remember what you were going to say.
I didn't say it.
Oh.
I'll give you a clue. It begins with an F.
Freudian?
Yeah. Fromage.
Yes.
It's a Wonderful Life is a fine movie, but if it were me, A Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Scrooge need more attention. For me, I'm just binging the heck out of the DCAU, Universal Century Gundam, from 0079 to Unicorn and even Turn A and Madhouse Animated Anime. Think Satoshi Kon, Card Captor Sakura, Monster Redline, and more recently Frieren Beyond Journey's End, as of this comment, among others. I have no idea what any of those things are. I apologise. And especially if I said the titles wrong, which I'm bound to have. Hey, Die Hard doesn't have worthy sequels, well, apart from With a Vengeance to some. Batman Returns Penguin is one notable homunculus according to some solid JJ Gag videos. Joel Schumacher's Batman, to Batman 66, to Fleischer Superman theatrical cartoons. At least tracing comic art is still as honed as on your end, Luke. Mine is just not as precise for some reason. Wonder Woman was chilling on Paradise Island, off-screen in comfort and joy, I think. Batman was also doing Watchtower monitor duty. Yeah, that's what they just told us. They were probably smooching under the mistletoe.
Kissing? On a kid's show?
Well, that's why they said he's on monitor duty. That's a euphemism, folks. The Greco-Roman gods are the worst, and that's coming from me currently finishing up the Aeneid. Oh, yes, I had to study the Aeneid in school, and we had to translate it from Latin. Arma verumque cono, qui troia prima suboribus.
What was that?
That was Latin. I sing of arms and a man.
Okay. Some of us people from America didn't actually get Latin unless you were in a private school.
Yeah, I mean, most schools over here don't do it. I don't know why my school did it, but they did. And I use it every day, obviously. Perhaps you guys may want to check notable replies of the main comments too. I used to do that, but then we ended up spending an hour talking about just the comments people made, and we had complaints that the show was too long.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep the show under an hour, and I think we've probably gone over that already.
Probably.
But Mary's editing this one, so she'll probably cut it down. So hopefully it'll be under an hour. If it is over an hour, hopefully not by too much, and apologies if it is. Mm-hmm. In defence of the guy gal who recommended Static Shock Family Ties, Dwayne McDuffie really didn't want to kill off Joan Hawkins, but execs just didn't want a whole intact family for Virgil because of reasons. Why must Parlon Monica be always treated like a mispronounced plaything?
I do that to so many people in my life. Like, I really do. I have so many friends where I just say their name, and you know how I say Palon? I say their names like that. So I'll say Palin from now on.
I'm confused. I thought it was Pa like Papa and Lon as in Lon Chaney, so I was like, Parlon.
Oh, I just speak like that because I want to sound proper.
I'm going to start calling him Mikey P. I'm sorry.
You know what? You could call me Marie.
Marie.
No, Marie.
Marie.
Maray. Marie. No, sorry if we're not making fun of you. It's just it sounds really cool, and I do that to a lot of names.
Yeah, I have to apologise because my tongue is too big for my mouth, so I often mispronounce words. You'd be surprised the amount of times I'll listen back to a recording I've made for a video and go, "What the hell have I just said?" Re-record, redo.
I have no excuse.
Yes, TTG is Teen Titans Go. Pretentious fan speak is a living for me. After all, fiction should have in-universe designations, so to feel a bit more immersive to me. Heh, not a PI, myself, Mary. Gundam, not Gundam. Curse those varying quality English dubs, and really one's better off watching the continuity on the original Japanese.
Okay, I'm going to say something about this.
Okay, go on.
And I might have said it before. If you watch the dub version of a movie we cannot be friends. There's a reason subtitles exist.
To read them.
Yes. And you cannot get the true, like, you can't get the true show unless you're listening to it in whatever language it was originally spoken in. You can't get the true inflection if you're not listening to the actual language it was originally filmed in. So if you watch the dub versions, I will take back the application to be my friend.
So there.
Yeah.
If only the VAs for the Crisis on Infinite Earths trilogy also included DCAU veterans for specific characters, although there's a possibility that they're hidden for now, so not to spoil things. Well, that's my hope as well. I hope that, George Newbern or Susan Eisenberg reprises a role. If they were smart and they recorded this years ago, then maybe Kevin Conroy, but I'm not holding my breath on that.
No.
I'd rather play Geometry Dash than Injustice on mobile, regardless of if it's not free anymore. Oh, and if not Injustice, why not Kingdom Come comics and novelization? I've read Kingdom Come, and I had the Kingdom spin-offs as well. I'm very familiar with those. I think the DCAU Wally West the Flash has subtle tragedy surrounding him, especially with the implication that he was a kid Flash to a now erased mentor Barry Allen, which could explain his overcomplicating funny aloofness and signature sudden let's get dangerous moments. When I say I haven't seen a Sub-Zero non-enjoyer, I meant one in front of mine eyes, not via a comment on a phone screen. Fair enough. Obi-Wan Kenobi was already eclipsed by John Jackson Miller's Kenobi novel, The Purge, and certain Darth Vader comics like The Lost Command and The Last of the Jedi young adult novels, while the books of Boba Fett feels off compared to Tales of the Bounty Hunters anthology, the Bounty Hunters war novels, and the Twin Engines of Destruction comics. And don't forget the campy cringe stuff like those bloody skills and that criffing spinny boy Robert Rodriguez, What Have You Done? Yeah, we didn't really like those street kids, did we? No, you didn't watch it with me. You didn't watch The Mandalorian with me, did you?
No, I did not.
So when I say we, I'm using the royal we, clearly. All's well and done. Next, to wait for the upcoming channel topics before the year's end. Well, the year has ended by now, so hopefully you enjoyed everything, Michael. And thank you for taking the time to comment.
Thank you,
I'm so short of breath.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mikey P. Okay, next we have an update on Blue the Chicken from Screen Wiper.
Blue!
So Blue got sick again, and then better again, because it was the same thing as last time, so we recognised it and got it treated correctly much sooner.
Yeah.
She's a bit up and down, but generally well and getting spoiled with live prey to eat nearly every day to keep her strong, which she really enjoys. Betty, Wilma and Pebbles have settled in well. Timid Wilma is now confident. Mean Pebbles is now sweet. Cheeky Betty is still cheeky, but she has the charisma to get away with it. They all lay good eggs, especially Betty, and they're all very fluffy for winter, especially old Blue. Give me your email address and I'll send you both photos.
I am down. We will send it to you. Yeah. Oh my god, thank you so much for that update. I've been thinking about Blue. And you could tell him that I have, because I say it. I talk, I'm like, you remember Blue? Last comment is from Captain Alice's. Hey, Cap.
Hello, Captain.
Sorry to break it to you. Not only has the live-action Milan been out for quite some time, it was bad. Not polarizing like some of the other remakes, just bad.
Yeah, we looked this up on Disney Plus, didn't we? And it came out in 2020. So that just goes to show you how much I have my finger on the pulse of popular culture. I mean, you shouldn't be surprised because, as I said, this is a channel about a 30-year-old cartoon. So you shouldn't be shocked that I don't know what's come out and when it came out.
Honestly, I thought they were still filming. And I thought, that Great Wall movie with Matt Damon? I thought they were still filming that, but apparently that came out years ago.
Yes.
So yeah, I was brought back down to earth, Captain. So yeah, that's the end, guys.
Yeah, we've done everything.
Yeah.
Whew.
I know. So, the next episode is going to be about...
Yeah, so we're going to continue our Batman Beyond coverage, and we're actually going to jump straight to the end, practically. And we are going to talk about Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
I didn't know we were doing that, so...
I thought I told you, sorry.
No, that's fine. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, everyone.
Now, thank you so much for listening. And again, sorry, I don't seem like my normal self. I'm a bit under the weather. But next time, in 2 weeks' time, it'll be a new day. And I hope you guys all have wonderful, wonderful times this year. And all my good vibes go to y'all. Deuces.